At the end of our last episode, we introduced Aquinas' theories of form, and how that relates to the metaphysical nature of God. In this episode, we will continue this discussion, and explore the connection which this has to Plato's theory of the forms. In his work entitled On Being and Essence, Thomas Aquinas explores the relationship between form and matter. He explains that matter and form are so related that form gives being to matter. As a result of this relationship, it is clear that there is a close connection between form and matter, but that form is prior to matter, due to the fact that it is what gives being to matter. Aquinas confirms this by proposing that while matter cannot exist without form, form can exist without matter. Furthermore, it is not only possible for form to exist without matter, but in certain circumstances, it is actually necessary for that to be the case. For instance, the forms themselves are actually intelligible only when they are separated from matter and its conditions. Substances such as these, which require separation from matter, Aquinas terms intellectual substances. Not only do these intellectual substances require that they are not composed of matter, they also cannot be the form of anything material. Aquinas then takes this notion of intellectual substances and brings God into the picture. He writes, "An intelligence is form and being, and holds its being from the first being, which is being in all its purity, and this is the first cause, or God." God himself is not an intelligible form, because he exists prior to such forms. Furthermore, Aquinas explains that the intelligible forms cannot give themselves existence, which requires that something else be the cause of their existence. And this could not be said of God. Rather, God does cause himself to exist, and he is his own essence, which also means he is his own form. And then Aquinas takes this discussion even further. Not only is God his own form, he is also the form of everything else. Aquinas writes this: "The forms of things are in the divine nature, as in the active power producing them." The following illustration may be helpful in understanding what Aquinas means by that. We term food healthy when it is analogous to health. In the same way, we refer to humans as good when they are analogous to God, because God is goodness. This means that in Aquinas' account of God, he becomes the form of the good. However, unlike the form of the good we saw presented in Plato's theory, God does not only give existence to all the other forms and everything else, he also gives himself existence. Furthermore, all the forms are in the divine nature, not just the form of the good. Essentially, Aquinas has taken all the Platonic forms and brought them together into one, God, who gives being to all things and is the form of all things. Now, an important question arises at this point in Aquinas' narrative of God. Throughout Plato's discussion of the forms, and in Aquinas' own discussion, there's the idea that the forms are separate from the things which participate in them. There's also the related idea that something which produces something else is separate from that which it produces. For instance, things which are productive of goodness versus things that are actually good. The question then is this: if God is productive of goodness, can he actually be good? It seems unlikely that Aquinas would argue that he cannot. However, Aquinas also argues that an intellectual substance, such as God, must be completely free from matter. He cannot be form imposed upon matter. And since God as the form of the good must be completely free from matter, this would imply that nothing material could participate in the good. But if material things cannot be considered good, this raises a further, even more concerning issue. As briefly discussed during our discussion of Plato's theory of the forms, we come to an understanding of what beauty itself is by looking at things in the physical world around us and understanding how they participate in the form of beauty. However, if the material things of our world cannot be good, how do we come to an understanding of the form of the good? How can we claim to know God to be good? Aquinas does not give a clear explanation to resolve this worry, nor do I think he consciously creates this problem. I myself cannot claim to have a resolution to this issue, but it is an important question to consider, given its implications. In our next episode, we will look at Boethius' theory of form, before concluding the series by laying out all four ideas of form, in order to understand how the ancient idea shaped the medieval understanding of God as form. So be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss that. Thank you for watching.